The giants.
We're on the moon?
Somebody said on the moon.
We're on the moon. Well, the people are pretty settled at the moment. They did send out 12 spies. And so we've talked about their journey, and now we're talking about the report that they brought back. And so what was their report? Huh?
They said they're not going to go in.
The land flowing with milk and honey, so they verified that. That's something that they heard, and it is true. So they come back with the good news of the report. What else did they report back on? Giants.
And the walled cities.
Well, they found that there's people living in the land, numerous people, different groups, all throughout the Promised Land, and that there are many, and that there are many cities, many fortified cities. And then they focused on one thing in particular, the children of Anak. And so we spent, I guess, the whole Bible lesson last week talking about giants, talking about Goliath, talking about the children of Anak, and we know that they are men of tall stature, people of tall stature. And so then we have Goliath, the Bible gives the size of Goliath. And so we know that in our King James Version it has 4 cubits and a half, or 4 cubits in the span, and so that's that tall, 9 foot 9 inches. And then we found that there's in the writings of Josephus, who's recording some writings that we can trace back to the Dead Sea Scrolls that refer to him more as 2 cubits and a span. And so that puts us at 6 foot 9 inches. So that's why we have this. So we talked about those two, and then here's a normal Israelite. We use Chris as our standard.
Yeah.
And so we talked a lot about that, had some fun with pictures and so forth. So as we are here, we are still in Kadesh Barnea. The spies have returned, and they are going to give they've given their report. And so now we're going to, anytime a report's given, there's analysis. Okay, what does this really mean? So there's facts. The fact is, land is flowing with milk and honey. The fact is, there are many people groups and there are walled cities. The fact is, the children of Anak live there. Those are all facts, right? Now, how do you interpret it, and what do you do with that? How do you process that information to action or a decision, right? And many of us at work, we're having to give our bosses, they give us all this information, and then we have to report back to them. And what is our recommendation? What do you do with this information? And so then this is what's happening. And so we have analysis. So we're on number 8 and our handout 16. So same handout as last week. So the analysis. So Caleb and Joshua, they give their perspective. Just like the Supreme Court, there's the you have one perspective, and then you have the other perspective. The affirmative perspective and the negative perspective. So Numbers chapter 13, verse 38. Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it." If you can just imagine, they hear this, and then they're, of course, murmuring and discussion happening among all the people groups. And Caleb stands up and hushes the crowd and gives the announcement, "Let's go! Come on! We can take it! We can take it! This is good news! This is a good report! Let's go and possess the land! Let's go at once, not hesitate! We can do this! It's not an issue! It's not an issue." So that's his report. Caleb gives that report. And so but then there's the other side. Numbers 13:31. But the men that went up with them, so the other spies, the other 10 spies, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, "The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." Okay, in their analysis, what facts did they present, and what fabrications did they present? Did the people really eat other people? No. Were they really grasshoppers in the sight of? No. No. I was thinking of stopping by the store and getting you some chocolate-covered grasshoppers, so you knew how the Israelites felt. that the children of Anak did eat people, and they were as grasshoppers. But I forgot. So we have here are children of Anak. In your perspective, do you feel like you're a grasshopper to this guy here?
No,
Do you feel like you're more of, what do you feel like?
small, but not a grasshopper.
It's just bigger than there.
It's bigger. So they did, you know, any falsehood, there's always a little bit of truth. There are giants in the land. There are people that are tall in the land. That is all true. Now, are they not able to take it? They haven't even gone to try. They've already assumed that they're not able to take it. So those are the two perspectives on the report. And so now you have to decide what to do. So now we're in Numbers chapter 14. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the children and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? You know, mass pandemonium was occurring here in the tents, right? We're not going to be able to do this. Did God allow us just to come here just to die? Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 25. And they took of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down unto us, and brought his word again, and said, It is a good land which the Lord our God hath give us. Notwithstanding, we would not go up, but rebelled against the commandment of the Lord your God. And ye murmured in your tents, and said, Because the Lord hated us, he hath brought us forth out of the land of Egypt to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites. Now God hates them. Lord, where is this coming from?
Yeah, teenagers.
To deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us. Whither shall we go up? Our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying, The people is greater and taller than we. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the son of the Anakims there. You know, I heard recently, actually Mrs. Lewis is the one who told me this, that the greatest sin that man can have is fear. The greatest sin that man can have is fear.
Yeah, because your parents say that God cannot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There it is. There it is. There it is. So when we're too afraid to do something, we're telling God, I don't trust you. You can't do this. You can't keep your promises. Right? Now, most of the time, you know, the greatest sin, the unforgivable sin, is the one that rejects Christ. Well, that's the same as fearing. I'm too afraid to put my whole trust in you. I can do it myself. I don't trust that your promise that I will go to heaven if I put my faith and trust in you will occur. Isn't that being afraid? Is that fear? Yeah. And then we deal with it on a daily basis. We're presented with an opportunity. I can't do that. It's too expensive to go on a mission trip. I can't walk. I mean, Teresa herself, she has faced those fears and looked them square in the eye, right? We had a missionary, elderly lady, Laura Nell Farrell, that came, and she was great. She was very honest and open. It was very, very nice. Her husband passed away as a pastor, and she had quite a bit of her life left, right? And so she decided she should go on and become a missionary. And so she faced all those things as a single widowed lady going out in the field, not knowing the language, not knowing the people. And she was able to serve more as an auxiliary type help. Whatever the missionary needed, came alongside an existing missionary and supported them any way that she can. So she was in England, and she was in Russia, and Greece, and then
Africa.
3 different countries in Africa.
Yeah.
And she just used all the tools that the Lord had provided her. Had been training her all these years and put them to use as she needed. And so she faced all those.
At age 56.
Mm-hmm. And so here we have fear. Our greatest sin is fear. Can God really do this? Well, can he or can't he? Do you believe he will, or do we believe not will? And here we have, this is the sin that these children of Israel had. God had promised them the promised land. God had led them all the way up to the border. And now we're going to decide to be afraid to take the next step? Just because there's a little challenge ahead? Just because we trust in God, does that mean the challenges go away? No, definitely not. Maybe sometimes they get a little more challenging, but God is there to walk us through.
It's, excuse me, they told her about a widow that the church needed money and like she's poor, like she doesn't have anything to give. So she went to the pastor if she can do anything. And then she told the pastor that before her husband passed, they had a land, like they want to build like the near the water or whatever. So she gave the land to the church and they sold it for 250,000. So she even gave more because she doesn't have anything. So by the time they sold the land, it was worth 250,000.
Wow. Wow.
And she gave it to the church. Yeah.
You know, we're on this side, and we can always tell those stories. But what about when they face us? When we're the one who has to decide, right? How about, don't we do this on a regular basis? How about when we're the simple command to go tell somebody about Christ? What do we do? And I'm speaking about myself. God pricks your heart to go speak to somebody. What do? You look them up and down and say, man, that guy's too tall. His beard is too scruffy. I don't know. That's not the type of people I really like to talk to. What if he, what if he hits me? What if he doesn't accept the message I have? What if I offend him? We go, right? Am I honest here? We all do the same thing. We're looking at that giant, and probably it's really more like this guy down here that's ready to accept Christ, but we haven't the faith to say it, to go out and do it.
And he might be waiting for somebody to tell it.
That's right. That's right. Could be your best friend, and you decide to walk away. You decide you were too busy, that didn't seem to be they weren't interested, and we determined ourselves we don't need to talk to that person. We all have our giants. We all have our giants. How about when somebody asks you to do something in church? Oh, I'm too busy. I'm not talented enough. I don't like talking in front of people. I can't get up here. People will laugh at me. I may lead people astray. But probably the reason why you're being asked is because A, God knows you can do it. God will be there for you. And B, their pastor, whoever's asking you can do it, already knows you can do it and has this faith in you that you can do it. Otherwise, why would they ask you? They're not setting you up to fail. You can do it. You can do it. Now, am I saying these issues are inconsequential? No. They're just something to overcome. They're just something to prove God's glory even more. They're all real things. The men of Hebron were of tall stature. That's not a far-fetched, right? It's a real thing. They are tall. And maybe they're gentle giants and not cannibals. They don't know. So these are challenges, but they're also nothing for God. We have our own giants. So their first reaction was, we're not going to do this. We will not go. Their second reaction is what?
Return to Egypt.
We want to return back to Egypt. Numbers 14:4, and they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. Well, they already know Moses isn't going to go with this plan, so they have to come up with a new leader, right? A new captain. And we want to go back to Egypt. How many of you like to talk about the good old days? Tell me about those good old days.
She has one.
She's talking about this story about my car. There was we were at a leaders meeting. When we were leaving, there was a lady pulling out, one of the leaders pulling out of the parking space, and she had a Mercedes, and I used to have a Mercedes, and I told her, I said, I guess my Mercedes. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, oh no, that's okay, because I have a new car. And after that, and we were actually discussing this passage right here about the Israelites complaining about going back to Egypt. And immediately when I said that, I thought about this, saying that I just did the same thing that I was accusing that I just read that the Israelites did. Like, we just beat on them, not realizing that we do the same thing. And the Mercedes that I had, my daughter totaled it.
Yeah.
But it was, it was a 1999 Mercedes. I have a brand new car, 2014.
No air.
What kind of car you have? Okay, a 2014 Ultima. The Mercedes didn't have any air. The brakes squeaked. And here I am saying, I miss my Mercedes. I had a brand new car, driven right off the, the lot, brand new. And I felt guilty about it because, we talk about this, not realizing that we do the same thing, just that quick,
We forget the bad things that have occurred in the past. We don't remember the good things. Now, we ask Mom quite frequently about, how were we, there's three of us, three kids, how were we as kids growing up? Were we bad? Are we good?
No, you're perfect.
And then I go ahead and remind, remember when we did this, and this? Oh, you did that? No, you didn't do that. So apparently the good old days had us perfect angels. I can tell you we were perfect angels. You don't remember all the yelling, Mom?
Yeah, I guess I don't. If I think about it.
I really think about it.
I appreciated the client just taking the garbage out.
Here it comes.
I remember that.
The good old days. Now tell them about the good old days back in Egypt. This is what they're referring to. Let's go back to Egypt.
They were slaves.
Slaves, right? But how quickly they forgot. They're only 2 years removed from slavery, and now you want to go back to slavery? I mean, what are they actually remembering? I don't know. Food and housing, a permanent structure?
Onions and leeks.
Leave?
The
No, I
food
like
was free.
The food's free.
It was.
They work for it. They want to go back to Egypt. How quickly they forget, and they want to go from the promised land being right next door back to slavery? I mean, we all do the same thing. We all do the same thing. We're looking behind and forgetting the things of the bad things of the past. And, we've been through the past, so we know we've made it through. We just haven't been to the future. And if God has brought us through the past, He's gonna bring us through the future. And we forget about that. But we want to return back to Egypt. Things were much simpler then. They didn't have to face giants. They just had to face Egyptians with whips, right?
Right. They may be happy to do
All right, so you see their faith here, right? You see they're afraid, and they're not trusting in God. They don't think God can give them the promised land, no matter what's in the promised land. And we've talked about the two different sizes of giants that are referenced, in Goliath. Could be that tall, or this tall, or somewhere in between. The children of Anakim, somewhere in between. Now, tell me, we've talked. You may have. I think I saw some of your faces where he says, "Oh no, it can't be the shorter one. That doesn't make any sense. Goliath has to be the taller one, because that's what we grew up with, being that big, tall guy that David faces, right? That's our. And where's that coming from? It's just coming from Sunday school and our own personal perspective. So your Sunday school bias is coming in here. Whether it should be this, it should be this guy. This guy's already discredited, right? Now, and I don't care what you believe in here, but what would your perspective of the children of Israelites' faith change if it was this guy versus that guy? We just say, oh, I can understand why they want to go in because look at that guy's tall. I feel like a grasshopper too. Or would you say, I can't believe they would have that lack of faith because that guy's not very tall? Would your perspective of him change? Of the Israelites change?
Yeah, it's not as tall as.
So now you're looking even further down at the Israelites for the decision they made, right? This one seems to be, that seems a little bit more reasonable. They chose not to go in the promised land. This one, I don't know why they chose this promised land. I can take this guy, right? The fact is, it doesn't matter. It could be a figment of our imagination that's keeping us from facing that giant, right? That giant, whatever we're facing ahead of us could be just a myth to us, a myth, but it's a hurdle we have to overcome. It doesn't matter the size of the giant, it's the fact that we can't move forward. Does that make sense? I like this verse here, Proverbs chapter 22, verse 13. It's talking more of the lazy man, but I think we're going to apply it here. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 13, the slothful man says, there's a lion without, I shall be slain in the streets. In other words here, the lazy man is slaying in bed. He says, no, I'm not going to go out to work. I'm going to get chewed up by a lion if I go out there. Well, the lion is not real, and there's no way he's going to die. He's just lazy enough, too lazy to go get out of bed. Same thing for a man who doesn't trust in God. There's a giant out there. I'm going to be eaten up. I'm going to be a grasshopper. I'm going to be eaten up. I'm not going to go out there. Same thing, right? Same thing. You're just not getting out and taking action and doing what the Lord asks us to do, following His promises. So someone may say, yeah, your giant is a pretty big giant. Cancer is a huge, huge deal. Or you're a little sniffly nose. What are you not doing in church? We have our giants to overcome. And it doesn't matter what the size is, God is bigger than any of it.
Yes.
All right, so what happens next? Moses, Aaron, and Joshua, of course, are going to plead with the people. They're going to ask for reconsideration. Hey, guys, we need to reconsider this. Numbers chapter 14, verse 5. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before the whole assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes. And they spake unto the whole company of children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delight in us, then we will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which floweth in milk and honey. Only rebel not against the Lord, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not. Here Moses and Aaron, they're falling on their faces, pleading with God. They're going before. We have here Joshua and Caleb are renting their clothes, and they're trying to go up against the congregation and encourage them and plead with them and get them back to go and taking the promised land. And they're promoting, hey, it's a good land, the land that God's given us. Don't reject God. God's going to give it to us. Don't be afraid of what lies ahead. And so they're doing their best to have the people reconsider. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 29, then I said unto you, dread not, neither be afraid of them. The Lord your God, which goeth before you, He shall fight for you, according to all that He did for you in Egypt before your eyes. You've seen it in the past. He's going to do it in the future. And in the wilderness where thou hast seen now that the Lord thy God bare thee, as a man doth bear his son, and all the way that ye went, until ye came into this place. Yet this thing ye did not believe the Lord your God, who went in the way before you to search you out a place to pitch your tents, and fire by night, to show you by what way you should go, in a cloud by day. The Lord went before you. You didn't go before the Lord. The Lord went before you. He scattered the enemy from before you. And now you're going to turn away to go back to Egypt? Reconsider. Please reconsider. How did they react? Yeah, they refused. Numbers chapter 14, verse 10. But all the congregation bade stone them with stones. Well, they didn't like that. The mob effect had already taken over, and there was no turning back, right? And now they're going to pick up stones to silence them. Nobody wants to hear the truth, right? Here they're being told you're rebelling against God. I don't want to hear that. I'm comfortable where I am. Don't tell me that I'm rebelling against God. And here we have them picking up stones. And the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. God is now making His presence known, isn't He? How does God feel about this? Provoked. Yeah, God is angered and wants to, what does He want to do?
Smite them with
Smite His people, eliminate His people, whatever terms you want to use. God is angered and wants to eliminate His people. Verse 11, and the Lord said unto Moses, how long wilt thou? And the Lord said unto Moses, how long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me? For all the signs which I have showed among them. This is kind of an interesting conversation with Moses, right? Moses is like, why are you asking me? How long are these people going to continue to do this? Moses, I don't know, God. They keep doing it. They keep doing it. How long will they not believe me? I don't understand it, God. I mean, I've seen everything you've done. They've seen everything you've done. For all the signs that I showed among them, God said, I've done all this. We can trace back every step of the way, and I've been with them, and yet they don't believe. And this is God talking. Verse 12, I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of them a greater nation and mightier than they. So here we find God wants to destroy them. That's how angry he is. He wants to just eliminate them off the face of the earth. How many times has God wanted to destroy his own people?
Several.
That's the third time.
That's the third time. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But here we have Moses pleads with God. Moses pleads with God. We're going to find a lot about Moses and God's character right here. Numbers chapter 14, verse 13. And Moses said unto the Lord, then the Egyptians shall hear it, for thou broughtest up this people in thy might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that thou, Lord, art among his people, this people, that thou, Lord, art seen face to face, and that thy cloud standeth over them, and that thou goest before them by daytime, and a pillar of a cloud, and a pillar of fire by night. Now if thou shalt kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying, because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land which he sware unto them, therefore he hath slain them in the wilderness. And now I beseech thee, let the power of my people, my Lord, be great, according as thou hast spoken. The Lord is longsuffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, upon the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of this people, according unto the greatness of thy mercy, and as thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt even until now. So tell me about Moses' character. What do we learn about Moses here?
He's humble.
He's humble.
And he's interceding for
He's
people.
interceding. Yeah, look at this. Moses has been through the whole step of the way these past 2 years, hearing every mumble and gripe, and he is worn out as well, isn't he? He's worn out as well. And God says, I will give you a new people. When you say, I'm all for that, God, I don't know why you didn't recommend that earlier. Right? He didn't do that, did
He
he?
never did all the 3 times. He never did. And those same people, not even angry enough.
He,
And cause him.
notice, Moses
Make him.
pleaded for his people. Moses pleaded. He kept it together and says, God, keep the people. Keep the people. And look at the reasoning. And Moses is very logical moving forward here talking with God, isn't he? So Moses here wants to continue to lead all the people even with all their issues. How about God's character? What do we see about God?
He's compassionate and he's loving and merciful.
Yeah, right. I mean, Moses is laying it out here. Moses is telling God, God, this is not your character. This is not your character. If you go forward with this, your promises, the people, the unbelievers out there are going to see how impotent and weak you are, and you're not, and that you can't keep your promises. God, you are patient, long-suffering, merciful, forgiving God. That's the God you are. That's the God you are. That doesn't mean you're not going to be just and punish, but you're not someone who's going to wipe everything off the face of the planet and start over. That's not you. That's not your reputation. God, you are merciful. You're forgiving.
I guess Isaiah 55 9 was not in existence at the time.
Right. So we see God's ultimate character of mercy and forgiveness. Moses reminds God of his reputation. If he kills all the Israelites, he would show the Egyptians his ability to keep his promises, to redeem them and give them the land as a possession. The world would mock mock God. So Moses pleaded with him on God's own character, his own reputation. Moses pleaded the only action God could take would be to forgive the people and punish them another way. This is your only This is the only right choice for you, God. Forgive them. Forgive them. And then, punish them as you see fit, but this is not the way to do it. Not the way to do it. Is this the first time this sort of incident has happened with God? No. Can you name a few? It seems to be a regular occurrence. Why don't we go back further? How about Adam and Eve? Adam and Eve, right? Adam and Eve didn't trust God, ate of the fruit. God could have wiped 2 souls off the planet and started afresh. Right? He could have, but that wasn't God. What did God do?
Forgave him, but punished him.
Forgave him punishment and set forth the plan of salvation. Right? He set forth the plan of salvation. He could have started over, but Jesus was on his way to come to be our Savior a couple millennium later. How about Noah's Ark? Noah's Ark. Wipe everyone off the face of the earth. Oh, but there is one righteous or 8 righteous. 8 righteous. And says, well, I'm going to start with you. I'm not going to wipe everyone off the face of the earth. Sodom and Gomorrah. That's right. Excellent. So you see this kind of repeats itself. God's character is still intact, isn't it? His mercy is still intact. Our fear is still taken over. Our mistrust. But yeah, this is not an unusual story to Scripture, is it? It's a recurring story where God decides that He will not destroy everything, but He will continue on with His mercy and justice.
Give them warning, just like,
You can imagine the conversation between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit being very similar to the conversation between Moses and God. One of the Trinity reminds the others about the character of forgiveness. Just imagine that. So one of them is, I'm so tired of these people. Hold on, Father. Hold on, Son. Remember who we are. Remember what our character is. Remember our reputation. Think about Satan and the fallen angels. They would like you to trip up and fall. We got to keep it together. We got to maintain our character. It's something to think about. All right, G. What does God do? God takes Moses' advice, and God pardons, but however, punishment is incurred. And so what's that punishment?
Everyone 20 years old.
Everyone 20 years old and older will not enter the promised land. Said Joshua and Caleb. Numbers 14, verse 20. And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. We find also that God points out, 10 times you have tempted me. 10 times. Do we know those 10 times? We do. We do. And it worked out when I traced it. Alright, so the first incident occurred, number 1, at the Red Sea crossing. The Red Sea crossing, Exodus 14:11, they said unto Moses, because there are no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dwelt thus with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than we should die in the wilderness. Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And then the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. So we have murmuring and complaining because the Egyptians are right on their tail, and the Red Sea is right in front of them. And then God opens up the waters. Number 2, what happened at Moriah?
No water.
No water. Exodus 15. So you could put down location and what occurred there. Number 2, Moriah, lacking water. Exodus 15:22. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea. They went into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And then when they came to Moriah, they could not drink of the waters of Moriah, for they were bitter, and therefore the name of this place is called Moriah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? All right, the third temptation.
Hunger in the wilderness of sin.
Elim, E-L-I-M, Elim. This is where they were wanting meat. Exodus 16, verse 1. They took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel, and came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for we have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill the whole assembly with hunger. It seemed a recurring statement. I guess they had something on voice recorder and just kept playing. Number 4, what happened at Rephidim?
No water.
The water again. Exodus 17. And all the congregation of children of Israel journeyed. And they came to Rephidim, pitched to Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses, Give us water that we may drink. Moses said unto them, Why chide with me? Wherefore do ye tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses, and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us out of Egypt? Kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst. I feel like I'm reading the same thing over again. All right, what happened at Mount Sinai? Huh?
The calf.
The calf, the golden calf. The golden calf. Exodus 32, verse 7. And the Lord said to Moses, Go, get thee down, for thy people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt. The Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, behold, it is a stiff-necked people. So that occurred there, and of course some other different things occurred at Mount Sinai. All right, number 6. What happened at Taberah?
The fire
burning.
They complained. We don't quite know what they complained about, but God was displeased. Numbers chapter 11, verse 1. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it. And his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses. When Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire was quenched. And the place was called Taberah. All right, what happened at Kibroth-Hattaavah?
flesh to eat.
More meat. More meat, yeah. Complaining about meat again. Numbers 11, verse 4. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again, saying, Who shall give us flesh to eat? Verse 34. And he called the name of the place Kirjath-Hattaavah, because they have buried the people that lusted. What happened at Hathorah?
So they complain about Moses' wife.
What's her name?
Aaron.
Miriam.
She gets leprosy.
Miriam and Aaron questioned Moses' authority. Numbers 11, verse 35. They journeyed from Kirjath-Hattaavah to Hathorah. Numbers chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, Hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. And Moses wanted to get, God wanted to get rid of Miriam, right? But Moses pleaded for Miriam and take away leprosy, and so she had leprosy for 7 days. Now we've made our way back up to Kadesh Barnea. So number 9, I'm inserting when Moses hit the rock in Numbers chapter 20, verse 1, complaining about water again. And so Numbers chapter 20, verse 2, and there was no water for the congregation. They gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. The people chose with Moses and spake, saying, would God that we had died when our brethren died before the Lord. And why have ye brought up the congregation of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? You know, if this had happened 40 years from now, all those people should have died and would not have remembered Egypt. But here they're remembering Egypt quite well and want to go back to Egypt. Verse 5, and wherefore have ye made us to come out of Egypt to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed, of figs, of vines, of pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. And so, if we get it for chronology is right, then the spies will be sent to have them come back with, here's the pomegranates and the figs and the grapes. This is what you have laying before you, but you have rejected it. So here we have water, again, at Kadesh Barnea. And then finally, number 10, the report of the 10 spies. Numbers chapter 14, verse 1 and 2. And the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night, and the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, would God that we have died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? Again, seems to be very repetitive. So that adds up to 10. So whether those are the actual 10 that God is referring to or something else, I don't know, but that added up to 10. And so here we had our Exodus journey in 5 minutes, right? Focusing on the murmuring. All right, so what's our next point here? God wants to give Caleb what? An inheritance. An inheritance. God promises Caleb an inheritance, yes. And right here it's just Caleb. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 34. And the Lord heard the voice. Here we go. Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 34. And the Lord heard the voice of your words and was wroth and sware, saying, surely there shall not one of these men of evil generation see the good land which I swear to give unto your fathers. Say Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, he shall see it, and to him will I give the land that he hath trodden upon, and to his children, because he hath wholly followed the Lord. Also the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, saying, thou shalt not go in thither. So God promises Caleb an inheritance for himself, for Caleb himself. And what did Caleb eventually ask for? Hebron. And you need to see that in Joshua chapter 14, verse 10 through 14. Now behold, the Lord hath kept me alive. And so this is the promised land has been given, and now Joshua is talking with old Caleb. I guess old Joshua and old Caleb are talking together. And now behold, the Lord hath kept me alive, and he said these 45 years, ever since the Lord spake this word unto Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness, and now lo, I am this day 85 years old, so 85 years old. Notice he said, I've been waiting 45 years, so that means they've been getting the inheritance for the past 7 years, or 7 years after they entered into the promised land for the first time. Does that make sense? Because right now we're already 2 years into the journey, there's another 38 years to go, and he's already saying there's 45 years from this point till this point where he's talking and getting his inheritance. In verse 11, as yet I am as strong this day as I am in the day that Moses sent me, as my strength was then, even so is my strength now, for war both to go out and to come in. Now therefore give me this mountain, whereof the Lord spake in that day, for thou heardest in that day how the Anakims were there, and that the cities were great and fenced. If so, be the Lord will be with me, then I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said. And Joshua blessed him, and gave unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh Hebron for an inheritance. Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite unto this day, because they had fully followed the Lord God of Israel. And so Caleb wanted the land where the children of Anak were. If you can just think about Caleb, he's trying to get the people to go forward and obey God, Now he has to wait 45 years, and that's festering, if you can use the right term, holy festering, righteous festering. I just want my chance. That's what I want. I want to show God is a God of truth. I want the land that I had saw that the people rejected altogether. So that's what he wanted. Joshua is mentioned in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 38. But Joshua the son of Nun, which standeth before thee, he shall go in thither. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it. Over your little ones, which he shall to be a prey, which he said should be a prey, and your children, which in the day had no knowledge between good and evil, they shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it. And it is 8 o'clock, and we are probably at a good stopping point right here. And so now we're going to, what do they want to do? What do the people want to do?
Go back.
Go back. Guess what God's going to tell them to do? Go back. We're going to talk about that next week. We got any questions, comments?
I was going to read something concerning, people who are afraid, or you spoke about fear. But Paul said that our intentional act of reaching out to meet someone's need actually fills the throne room of God with a fragrance that brings pleasure to him. We can please God with the aromas that rise from being a blessing to others. What an added incentive this is for us to perform deeds of kindness in his name. Who might need your act of kindness today? We need to check. Ask the Lord to lead you to someone. Be a blessing. It's a fragrant thing to do.
Yes. Okay.
I have one comment. This afternoon, I was, before I went to the hospital, Brother Linville called me, and his wife passed away this morning. Phyllis passed away. She passed away in his arms. She was in a rest home last several months.
Wow.
And he was real broken up about it, that he had to let her go to the rest home several months ago. He called me. He was weeping like a little boy, and I prayed with him over the phone on a couple occasions. And he would go almost every day because it was in Sun City. There was a rest home there in Sun City, and she had the last 6 years progressive Alzheimer's, and it just got to the point that it just took her.
Wow.
And he was at peace. I prayed with him again over the phone, but he says, "The Lord has given me strength, Brother Clark, but I wanted you folks to pray for us." And so pray for Brother Linville and he's got one daughter and one son that live here in Tampa, and he's got a couple, 2 or 3 grandsons, I think.
All right. Well, can we take a moment to pray for the family now? Dear Father, we are just shocked by this news, Lord. But Lord, we know that Phyllis is with you, Lord, and we rejoice with that. And Lord, we mourn with our brother, Dr. Linville, Lord, in this time, Lord, a very difficult time, Lord, losing his best friend and for life, Lord. And, Lord, just encourage him, step by him, Lord. Know that you're ever present before him, Lord. Surround his family with your grace, Lord, and Lord, just guide them as they move forward, and Lord, be with the details even now and preparations. And Lord, just know that we love the Linvilles and care deeply for them. But we also lift up other members of our church that are going through similar passing. Specifically Chris, Lord, and the homegoing of her father, Lord, and Mrs. Price, the homegoing of her mother. Lord, be with them in a very special way as well, Lord. Lord, just be an encouragement. Allow us to be an encouragement, Lord, in your name. All right.
Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to pay. So I have this method, I'm looking.